Let's do it, boys. First game we're going to be breaking down is going to be the NFC East NFC Championship. Like I said, I'm going to keep saying that because the Giants are in the NFC East, and it makes me feel better about our season if I say it's the NFC East NFC Championship. But we're breaking down the Commanders and the Eagles. Ben, I'm going to start with you. What do you like in the Commanders and the Eagles? And by the way, everybody, we're going to be going through picks, sides, totals, and props. We're going to give you guys the best of everything and all our favorite plays in these two games. Ben, kick it off.
Yeah, so this game is a tricky one for me because there is that certain questionable status of Hurts. And he's going to play. It's not that he's actually questionable. He's going to play. I mean questionable for how well can he play on that knee injury that looked like an ankle injury at first. He was kind of hobbling in that game. Obviously went back in the tent and got a little bit of a shot. Maybe he'll get one before this game again and he won't feel it so much. I just think it's kind of a question mark. What isn't a question mark is that Saquon Barkley is going to get probably 25 carries. And that's going to be my bet in this game. Because Saquon Barkley is sitting at 24.5 rushing attempts. I think he's going to cruise past that line. He got 26 against the Rams, and then he got 25 in the wild card against the Packers. He got more than this in both games against the Commanders this year as well. He had 29 in the second meeting of the season and 26 in the first. Now, the reason I'm not going rushing yards is because he's set very, very, very high on rushing yards at 127.5, which doesn't sound that high for Barkley. That's still a high rushing prop. Even if he does get 25 carries, because he got over the rushing attempts line in the wild card, but only got 119 yards against Green Bay. He didn't hit his rushing yards line of this number that he has here, but he hit his rushing attempts. And I think that could be a possibility again, because the Commanders got absolutely torched by him on the ground in the first two games of the season. I think that they're going to stack the box and absolutely try and limit anything he does, especially with the fact that Jalen Hurts could be dealing with the injury, and he just hasn't been a passer. The two games in the playoffs now, he's thrown for 131 yards and 128 yards. He only had 21 and 20 passing attempts. I think it's just going to be Saquon Barkley on the ground all day. They're just going to keep riding him because that's what they're doing, and they keep winning games. They're just winning dominant. Well, not necessarily winning dominantly, but they're winning games.
They're winning.
Him the ball. I think he's going to get at least 25 carries here. And for the side, I actually am going to side with the Commanders. I just like their offense better. I think that they have the more balanced attack. I think that they have the better explosive playmakers. You know, there is A.J. Brown. I know it's a controversial statement, but I do think that they have the better playmakers with Jaden Daniels, the way he's been playing. And I think that their offense can keep up, so I will absolutely take 6 points as well.
There we go. I have a question for all of you guys. Have you heard the report that came out this morning, the interview that the Commanders defensive coordinator, Joe Witt, had? And what he said was, we know that Jalen Hurts is a bum wheel. We know he's running on one knee, essentially. And they said, if Jalen gets out of the pocket and tries to run, we are going to treat him like a running back. What does that mean to me? They're trying to get in the head of the Eagles. They're trying to let them know. If Jalen gets out of the pocket and starts running, we're diving at his knee, which is that a bad tactic? Absolutely not. I think mental warfare is half the battle in football. It's not all about talent. You have to get inside the other team's head, and I thought that was a very interesting statement. Commanders defensive coordinator Joe Witt is somebody you've never heard of. I will guarantee that 99% of the people here have never heard of him. That's because he does not do interviews. He does not do pieces like this where he says something like that, but I think they did that for a reason. I think he came out and said that for a reason because they're trying to get in the heads of the Eagles coaching staff. What do you think about that, Ben? I'm going to go to you, that the defensive coordinator is saying, we're coming, Jalen. You better stay in the pocket. So what do you think about that? Do you think that's going to influence what they do? Because he does have a bad knee. He takes one shot on that knee, he could be out for the game. What do you think about that?
I think that it makes me love my bet of Saquon Barkley even more because now
that's exactly why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, instead of those rushing attempts you might get from those scrambles or even those design runs, like on a completely healthy Jalen Hurts, he'll have some designed runs probably drawn up as well, including, the tush pushes, of course. But now I think all that's out the window. I think you kind of have to not play it safe with him, but I mean, you can't risk losing the game because you can absolutely give the ball to Saquon Barkley 30 times, but you can't lose risking Jalen Hurts if you are going to win this game and go to the Super Bowl. The drop off to Kenny Pickett, we've seen a little bit of him. It wasn't great. He somehow blew that game against the Commanders, even though they got 4 or 5 turnovers and they still somehow lost the game. So you can't risk losing Jalen Hurts at this point. I think you play it safe. You still give shots to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, but you have to just give the ball to Saquon 30 times. And guess what? When they do it, they don't lose. So I don't know why you'd switch it up at this point, especially when he's already had 2 great games against the Commanders this year. The Commanders aren't great against the run to begin with.
Yeah, I agree. Jammer, what do you think?
Sounds like Bountygate 2.0. Sounds like
no, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. It was a fair comment.
I mean, there's a certain line that draws between saying something and emphasizing
It's
to the
teetering the
players
line.
that it has.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's a
I
little
mean, you're
different than
teetering
when the
there.
guy from what was he saying? He was saying target the head and the body dies, punch him in the head when they're in the pile. Little different than saying if he's running out of the pocket, hit him. Not the same.
Yeah, but it also sounds like, hey, Kenny Pickett might get a chance to go in there.
He
We
could.
saw
He could.
we
The pickler.
saw a little bit of weakness out of Jalen Hurts last week. So I think they sacked Jalen Hurts 7 times last week. So he's already a little banged up from that. He's got the concussion from a month ago. Now you add on this injury. It's just like at the end of the season, he's got a lot of those injuries piling up. So definitely curious to see what they try and do. If it'll be, short, quick passes across the middle, screen passes to Saquon, somehow getting the tight ends involved here on some sneaky screens across the line. It's going to be an interesting one.
What do you think about this game, though? What bets do you like in this one?
Okay, here we go. So the biggest question mark for me, man, is that Washington Commanders defense, 30th in the league in rushing yards allowed. So obviously that really leans into what Ben was going there with the rushing attack of Saquon. And you adding on that they're going to be blitzing, that just makes me think they're going to be a little bit more conservative with the ball. They're going to try and keep that time of possession up that the Eagles love to do. So for me, I think it's going to be a close game. But can we get this number to 7.5? Can we get this number to bump up a little bit more for the Commanders? Because I've been speaking all season about how I think that this Eagles team is, the best all-around team. But it's kind of hard to back them whenever you know that the quarterback is on a hobbled leg.
He is injured. There's no doubt about that. He is injured and hobbled.
It's tough to back that team, but whenever they have the better team all around, I think that they got the best running back. They have two of the best wide receivers if they can get the ball. But I mean, you get them the ball in space, and those two can create some plays. So it's more relying on the back of Jalen Hurts, and if he can just not, fuck it up. He just needs to keep the ball in a playmaker's hands. Don't turn the ball over, which they do a really good job at. Turnover differential for the Eagles, they're plus 11, 6th on the season. So it's going to be tough to back a rookie quarterback, especially whenever rookies have made it to these championship games 5 times prior to this. We've never seen a rookie take his team to the Super Bowl. So are we going to see that leap being taken this year on a rookie quarterback taking it to the Super Bowl game? I don't know, but I think that these Commanders can keep it close. I would love to see if this number could get to 7.5. I'm going to stay away from it right now.
I respect that.
As we get closer to game time, I might go for that. But in terms of plays for the game, I'm going to be looking at this under 47.5. Like I said, I think the Eagles are going to be very conservative. We're not going to see a lot of big plays, maybe add a Saquon on a rushing play. But
before you continue there, because that's right where our question from Joe is Saquon's longest rush is 23.5. What do you think about that?
I think that's very low for Saquon, especially whenever his total is this high.
I like it too. I think we're all in the same boat.
What are we looking at? Like 127.5 is his rushing prop. I mean, you got to take a chance on the longest rush there. He's broken a couple 50, 60-yarders the last couple of weeks.
Like every game, he breaks something. He breaks a long run every game, so I love that play.
Yeah. So I'm liking the under because I don't know how much time or how many possessions each of these teams are going to have if they can just drive up and down the field, and especially that Philly defense shutting down Washington. It's going to be a tough job for that rookie over there. But in terms of other plays, I took a shot on Saquon Barkley first half touchdown last week. We cashed that one. The first half this week is a little less juicy, so I'm going to get a little bit of value here. I'm going to take Saquon Barkley anytime second half touchdown at plus 120. We hit the first half last week at plus 150. It's a little bit less juicy this week, but we'll still look at it. And then we're also going to be looking at Saquon Barkley over 142.5 rushing and receiving. I'm kind of taking a play at a Ben's book there, but we're taking them both rushing and receiving due to Jalen Hurts' injury status. I think we're going to see a lot of Saquon this week, and it's kind of like what they saved him for at the end of the season, that he's going to have to, take the bear of that weight for this team. And if I'm going to take anything on the Washington Commanders side, I'm going to be giving out a plus 280, just like our boy Ben here in the UFC. I'm going to go Zach Ertz anytime touchdown at plus 280. I think inside the red zone, I know that we've seen a lot of Terry McLaurin. He's been his number one target whenever they get down there. So I think that we're going to go look at one of the more reliable tight ends, former Eagles tight end Zach Ertz.
A little revenge.
Little revenge action,
revenge game
absolutely.
for him. So we'll give that out at a plus 280s. A little value there for you guys.
It does seem like every time they're in the red zone and they need a big play, they go to Zach Ertz. I know McLaurin is their guy, but on fourth down, 4th and 3, when they get 4th and short inside the 10-yard line, it's been Zach Ertz. Nobody else but Zach Ertz. And it's the same play every time. He runs out, fakes left, cuts right, slant over the middle, and they find him in the end zone. It's been working like clockwork. So I agree with you. I love that play.
Hopefully it doesn't Mark Andrews it.
Why would you say that? Any other props from you, Jammer?
Nah, that's all I got for this game.
I love it. Well, I'm going to go next. And as many of you have said in the comments and can probably imagine, I am all over the Commanders plus 6.5 at the spot at minus 120. You can currently get that on FanDuel. I absolutely love the Commanders in this game. I don't know if they're going to win, but 6.5 points in an NFC Championship game is a lot of points, especially for two teams that are very familiar with each other. This is the third meeting between them. They've seen each other, and every year they play twice. So I know the second time they played this year, there weren't a lot of starters for this Eagles team, but these teams know each other better than probably any other two teams. They're in the same division. They're rivals. This is what happens in these types of games, and I think the Commanders will be able to keep it close. If you would have said preseason, which quarterback would you have more questions about going into the NFC Championship? Jayden Daniels or Jalen Hurts? We'd all say Jayden Daniels. What are you talking about? It's Jalen Hurts. Jayden Daniels has been elite. He's been electric. He's shown that he can play in the big moment, and nothing phases this guy. Whenever you think it's a big play, a big moment, they're going to blitz him. He's going to hesitate. He doesn't. He gets the ball out quick, or he moves out of the backfield and creates a big play. I love what I've seen out of this Commanders offense. Like I said, I'm not sure if they're going to win this game, but I do think they are going to keep it at least within that plus 6.5. I think this game ends by a field goal in either direction. So with that being said, I think the Commanders are going to cover with ease here. Give me the Commanders plus 6.5. Definitely my favorite play of the weekend. That is my favorite play of any bet that you can make in this championship round. I love the Commanders, and I'm all over them. I'll go over some props with JD after he gives his pick, because I think we're going to do the same style where we dissect a couple anytime touchdowns like we usually do. But JD, what do you like on the game for this one, outside props?
You know, guys, for this game, sometimes the best play is taking the Eagles first half.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, no, for real though. If you listen to my breakdown of the actual Washington game last week, move it to this week, and it's the exact same thing, but against a Eagles team that actually has a defense. Because last week, Lions, I don't know what that was. There was mistakes everywhere. Players, coaching, just mistakes literally everywhere. They turned the ball over. It felt like 10 times. Yeah, that was just a bad game. This week, though, once again, Jayden Daniels is going to be on the road. And I said something last week, and I kind of misspoke. I said that Lions fans are fucking crazy, and that wasn't quite the right wording there. I can tell you what, Eagles fans are fucking crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So this week they're going on the road. I don't know, what is this. How many straight weeks of actual road games is this for Washington? Is this 4 or 5?
I believe it's 5.
Now, I mean, yeah, there's tough, guys. I mean, going on the road week after week like that is tough. And now you're going to go in a place that is going to be rowdy as hell. And you're playing a defense their defense is such a step up. It's literally not even close here. As far as Hurts goes, yes, he is a little bit banged up, but actually, like Jammer said, they're actually going to have a plan. And they're still going to be able to move the ball, because this Washington defense is just not good. They should be able to run the ball. They should be able to pass the ball. They should be able to do everything. As far as on the Commander side, once again, I have to bring it up. 4th downs. They love going for 4th downs so much. Where against the Lions, they actually still did well. This week versus the Eagles, I don't think they're going to do as well. But they're going to keep going for them, and you just know that. So I think this week is the week that it's going to catch up to them. It's going to hurt them. But I more specifically like the Eagles in the first half. I like them to come out, get that lead. And then Commanders kind of do what they have been doing for most games, and that's in the second half. They're just trying to come back. That's actually why, if you like Washington, I would not take the points. I would actually take on the what's their money line right now?
Let me pull it up here. Money lines are Commanders plus 220, Eagles minus 270.
Yeah, I would actually rather take that because I honestly think the Eagles either cover the 6 or either they lose.
Really? You think it's going to be
yeah.
it could be that drastic of a game?
Yes, like I think it's going to be.
I mean, I could see that.
One
Absolutely.
one of those. So the points, I would just kind of leave those out, but I actually mean like that's just me. But yeah, I am going to stick to just the first half here, though.
Okay, good. So you can hit your first half, and the rest of us can hit, the full game there. So then we'll hit all of our props. But JD, before we move on to the AFC game,
one other thing that I actually meant to bring up here. I actually personally make this line actually Eagles minus 6.2. So I'm basically like right on there. I did want to bring up though, as far as my preseason line for this game here, would have been an Eagles minus 10.9.
Yeah.
So that just shows as far as actually like the Washington side, they've had a much better year. So
yeah, that's what happens when you get a good quarterback. Maybe my New York Giants can learn to get their heads out of their effing asses and maybe not win stupid, meaningless games with Tommy Cutlets in there that cost us any of the quarterbacks in this class, and we're going to get stuck with Shedeur Sanders. I'm sorry. Don't get me going. I will scream for 5 hours. But, JD, before we get off this game, any touchdown props you like? Because, guys, if you think the Washington Commanders are going to score any touchdowns, you're getting plus money on anyone. Terry McLaurin is the shortest odds. He's plus 135 for anytime touchdown. The second shortest odds for any Commander is Jaden Daniels and Brian Robinson Jr. tied at plus 220. So I think there is a little bit of value on the Commander side at finding who's going to score any touchdowns. JD, any touchdown props you're looking at?
I'm going to write the second. As far as for another prop, though, I do like the Jaden Daniels rushing yards over. That is a prop that, I'm sure that everybody likes. But for them that's just one of those things where, like, that's how I think they're going to have to beat them is, like, the Eagles will even know it's coming. Like, because so many teams, like, know it's about to come, but they still can't stop it. So.
Yeah, for sure. But so a couple of touchdown props I do like on the Washington side, and I want your guys' opinions on this. What do you think about Brian Robinson Jr., anytime touchdown at plus 220? Can't we all see a pass interference, some penalty that goes on the Eagles and they get the ball put on the 1 yard line? If they get the ball on the 1 yard line on the Eagles one, Brian Thomas is scoring. Brian Robinson is scoring. They're giving him the ball 1,000% of the time. Yeah. So I do think there's good value at plus 220. Ben, what do you think about that?
I like that quite a bit, actually, at plus 220. The one I liked was actually under those odds, though. Devontae Smith, plus 175. I think that if the Eagles get anywhere near the goal line, there will be so many Washington Commanders up front that there's going to be guys, not necessarily wide open, but in man coverage, including Devontae Smith and probably A.J. Brown, because they're going to want to do everything they can to stop Saquon Barkley. Devontae Smith did not get a touchdown either of the first 2 meetings this season against Washington, despite getting pretty good target shares. He had 6 and 8 targets in those games. He's the leading touchdown receiver for the Eagles with 8 touchdowns on the season. He has the most red zone targets for the Eagles. And Dallas Goedert might not even play in this game. He has a bum ankle, and he hasn't practiced. We haven't seen today yet the report, but he didn't practice.
Yeah, I've been waiting on it.
He might not even play in this game. And if he doesn't, I love this even more because that takes out another option for them. I think Devontae Smith, being that guy that's really good on the short routes, if they get to like the 5 or the 10, I think you're going to see a Devontae Smith target and most likely a touchdown. So I like him plus 175 personally.
There we go. Any other props we like on this game? Any other touchdown props before we move on to the other one? I guess that is a negative. So let's keep it moving, fellas.